Well, guys, one thing is for sure, when you are a business owner, you cannot allow your ego to run the show. What's up, guys? It's McKeown back again with unfortunately, a video that I didn't really see coming. Now, to give you guys some background here, I've been a real estate agent, growing my real estate company for the past 5 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to the point to where I eventually sold one of my rental properties technically about 9 months ago in December of 2021 to upgrade to this very commercial building that I've been filming a lot of my YouTube videos this year in. Now, the intent with this commercial building was to host an ever-growing real estate company, as well as to have 2 other units that are currently rented as we speak and paying a portion of my mortgage. Now, the perk here is I did a construction loan. I decided to remodel half of this entire building, or the 2 units that my real estate company occupies. As you guys can see, it went from an old, stale attorney's office to a very open concept, more modern looking real estate company's office. Now, the plan at the time was to continue to grow my real estate company. Now, I made an update video talking about how I was quitting real estate, or quitting, I guess, the growth of a real estate team. Now it's even shrunken further. Now, I used to have a business manager, transaction coordinator, a team transaction coordinator, a videographer, and an editor. So I used to have 5 staff. Now I am down to 2. I only have a videographer and a business manager. That business manager does the transaction coordinating for some of the agents left on my team. But I also had near 8 agents on the team, and I'm having a conversation with 2 of them on Monday where I technically may not even have any real estate agents left on my team, or I may just be keeping a couple around at the most. Now, where this video leads me to is the tough decision to be more proactive in a business sense rather than going down with the ship, I guess you could say. And by being more proactive, deciding to rent out this place, unfortunately, rather than continue to pay what could potentially, the beginning of next year when my commercial loan runs out, $6,000 or more a month to rent this place. Technically, it's whatever is left on my mortgage that the 2 other units are not paying, but it comes to about $6,000 plus utilities. So as difficult as a decision as it may be, I've decided to put this place up for rent. Now, to give you guys some background here, this is 2 units that I went ahead and demoed a lot of the walls and created just one large 2,300 square foot unit. I'm gonna be scaling down probably about 800 to maybe 1,100 square feet. All I need is a personal office, an office for my business manager, and an office for all of my filming and editing content. Now, the real reason for this space was to be able to house folks in my large conference room, to also bring clients into here, to be able to do closings, as well as potentially do events here. But we're talking 2,300 square feet right now for the use of 3 people is just far too much space for the cost that it's going to be. Now, on top of that, I do have 2 additional agents that sometimes make it to the office, but they aren't fully utilizing the office. They aren't fully utilizing my videographer for any kind of video content. So as far as me being, again, more proactive, what it's gonna wind up doing is saving me north of $50,000 a year if I wind up scaling down from where I'm currently at to a smaller commercial building. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video was just full transparency. I often talk about it on my channel. A lot of folks out there, they're not going to show you the bad. They're not going to show you the rough sides of investing. Now, if you've been following my content, there are plenty of ups and downs. For instance, I bought a duplex in 2017, and within the first year of purchasing that duplex and being my first investment property, I wound up having to evict the tenant that I essentially inherited when I purchased the property. Obviously, I didn't plan on evicting any tenants when I purchased my first property, but that's just the life of a landlord. Now, fast forward 5 years from that, I actually went on to sell that property, and I was surprised once again that a tenant was in there for over 3 years and absolutely demolished north of $20,000 or $25,000 worth of work with their unit that they had lived in. Now, they always paid rent and never had a late payment, never even had any issues collecting rent from them. So in the course of 3 years, I obviously made a substantial amount of cash flow on them, but it did negatively affect the ability to resell that duplex at the end of the day. But what I'm trying to get at here, guys, is investments at the end of the day may seem like a great investment up front. You may run into issues in the middle of owning it, but then if you're smart and do it right, at the end of the day, you're gonna be glad you made the investment to begin with. I can't tell you how many people just sit in this waiting period of, oh, I'm gonna invest, oh, I'm going to invest. 5, 10, 15 years go by and they never invest, and look back at an individual that did invest and then just ultimately regret the decision that they didn't. So if we're talking about this commercial building, obviously it didn't go as planned. Obviously my intent to grow a real estate team in the DFW area of north of 20 real estate agents is no longer going to be my vision, no longer going to be the path that I want to take in real estate. I'm taking a much different approach, more nationally rather than locally here, but I'm still gonna be selling homes. I'm still gonna be producing just as I always have. But let's just put it this way, I'm gonna be babysitting adults far less. I used to be a high school teacher and babysit essentially children, or what a lot would consider to be young adults, but it's not really what I enjoy. And the other direction that I'm heading, growing my brokerage nationally, is definitely what I enjoy far more. But just like my duplex, I'm not gonna be selling this commercial building. I only purchased it about 9 months ago. I'm gonna be finding a tenant to rent this place out, hopefully for a good amount of monthly income. And if I wind up not cash flowing, because I do have a $1,000 a month HOA fee for these 4 units. I do also have to pay insurance. I've got to pay a substantial amount of taxes in the state of Texas for a building that is valued at over $1.2 million. And on top of that, commercial notes, just so you guys know, are 20-year notes. If you just do simple math, if you take a 30-year note or any amount of debt and you spread it over the course of 30 years, versus if you take debt and you now cram it in 20 years rather than 30, it's gonna be a higher monthly mortgage cost. Now, the perk of that is, down the road, I'm gonna be having a substantial amount of equity. I'm applying more payments towards principal on a commercial note because it's gonna be paid off in 20 years versus 30. So if you consider this particular unit, or I guess 2 units, being fully remodeled, one of the HVAC units I actually already replaced earlier this year. The 2 other units are in good, livable condition for whatever tenants are using them. I have an HOA that covers all exterior maintenance, including the roof. I'm not gonna be probably putting any more money in this anytime soon, and a lot of commercial leases are oftentimes 3 to 6 years. So this is going to be an investment that I'm probably breaking even on, maybe losing some money every single month, but with the tax benefits of being able to write off all my taxes, all the expenses that I might have, such as the HOA fees, I'm gonna be actually able to offset any loss on this property with the gains of my other investment properties. Now, if you go ahead and fast forward 10 or maybe 20 years, let's just use 20 as an example, I will have this totally paid off, and at that point, we're probably looking at a property that's north of 1.5, if not $2 million at that point. So I'm gonna be in my early 50s and own a commercial building, assuming that I haven't leveraged it and refinanced it or sold it at that point. But I'm gonna have north of $1.5 to $2 million in equity and real estate owned just from this property alone in my early 50s. And I can tell you, my dad in his early 60s, I know for a fact, retired with a majority of his income in the stock market, and I believe it was north of $2 million. So this property alone, if I do nothing but just pay it off over the course of the next 20 years, I'm gonna be in a position where my dad was retiring in his early 60s after working his butt off at the same company for 40 years. So you can obviously see the power of real estate investing. That's just one property, and I have a total of 6 or 7 at the age of 33, and I'm gonna continue to purchase investment properties as well. Not all investment properties are going to work out exactly like you planned. Now, if I could fast forward 5 years, fast forward 10 years, 20 years, I'm gonna definitely look back at this property and be like, I'm so thankful I got the opportunity to purchase this, because at the end of the day, guys, I can't buy time back. I can't go back to being 21 years old and having 40 years until I'm in my 60s. I can't go back and redo stuff. In this case, this investment property is gonna be held for the long term. It's not gonna be a tremendously cash flowing property, which, to be honest with you, when you have a 20-year note versus a 30-year note, it's not oftentimes going to cash flow tremendously anyways. Oftentimes your 1 to 4 units are gonna cash flow better on a 30-year fixed note. But at the end of the day, this is going to be an investment that I hold long term. It's gonna help offset the income that I generate from my other real estate investments, and it's gonna wind up being a paid off investment, or something that I wind up selling and upgrading to an even larger investment down the road. And it's just gonna be like the story I told you with my duplex. I'm sure of it, whether it be 5, 10, 15, or 20 years down the road. I'm gonna be very thankful that I made this first commercial property investment. So my word of advice for folks out there, if you've been following my channel, or if you're looking to get into real estate investing, or if you're, maybe own a house and you want to purchase another house, or you want to purchase an outright investment, there's definitely a right time and a right place. And yes, interest rates are up. Yes, prices are definitely falling. You can negotiate a lot more now with real estate prices. There's a good opportunity, I think, to continue to invest in real estate. What I wouldn't do is just sit in this kind of cycle of, I can't find an investment, I can't find an investment, I can't find something that cash flows. Now, there's always going to be ways that you can kind of work around the system to be creative and make an investment happen. What you don't want to do is wait 5 years to finally make your first investment. Then you're looking over at your buddy who made his investment pretty quickly. Now, I'm not disregarding being intelligent with making a wise investment. I'm not telling you to go find a property today, put an outrageous offer on it, and then just sit as a negative investment for the rest of the time that you own it. But if you're gonna be investing in real estate, look at the trajectory in terms of real estate prices. It's hard to go wrong. So yes, just like my recent investment and new house that I'm building in Florida, it's not the most cash flowing or the most equitable investment that I've ever made, but I know by purchasing that now, just like this commercial property, I'm gonna be very happy with my investment in 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. Once again, guys, I appreciate all of your support. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.